All right, so thank you for joining us today. We are here with our friend Marcelo from Brazil. Hey, Marcelo, say hello to Guatemala in Brazil.
Hey, hello everyone. Thanks, Carlos. Thanks, Alvin. Thank you, everyone, for the invitation.
Yeah, and also we have Albin. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, guys. My name is Alvin. I will be the moderator for today, together with Carlos. So hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, hopefully. And so we have a couple of intro slides. The first one is obviously the title of this session, SQL Server 2019 top features that every DBA should know. Wow, that's interesting. You got me there just with the title.
Yeah.
You can watch the recording later. I know you're going to be super busy.
No worries. And here's just a reminder. This is free event organized by the Guatemalan IT communities, the SQL Server user group, the Kubernetes Guatemala, Microsoft Dev Group Kovan, and Docker Guatemala. This is a free event, and this is brought to you by these communities for the community. So if you can join us, you can find us on Facebook. Our just a reminder about our social networks. You can find us on Twitter, YouTube. You can subscribe to this channel so you can get notifications about everything that is going on today and tomorrow. So I think that's it for that. Technical assistance. If you require some help, please don't hesitate to ask questions on the chat window. Also, the Slack channel. I don't know if you have the Slack channel URL, Alvin. With you, you're the man with that. I know you have that somewhere. Let's see, because that's important. There you go. I know you knew. Yeah. So if you can join us, that would be great. Thank you, Alvin. That's more 101. So yeah, and without further ado, we have Marcelo here with us. So you can take over now, Marcelo. Let me just switch to your presentation,
Perfect.
and
All
all
right.
yours.
All right. Great. Thank you very much for the great introduction, Carlos. Thank you, Alvin, for all the help. And I do apologize in advance for making this or presenting this session in English. I assume that your English is way better than my Spanish, so that's why I can try Portuguese here, but it's not going to sound very good for everyone. Okay, so for the sake of comprehension, let's do that. Let's do that presentation in English. All right. Okay, so without further ado, I think I can watch or I can see the comments, the live comments here from the screen that I am right now.
Yes, you can. But we will help you with that. How do you like to handle it? At the end?
I
Or...
can I can see the comments. I got two monitors here, and so I'm looking back and forth all the time, so that's fine.
Oh man, yeah. Okay, that's awesome. Thank you.
Okay, no worries, no worries. All right. So, guys, when I created the title for this session in particular, I was thinking, okay, the largest feature or the biggest feature in SQL Server 2019 that we could realize or that we could see from the sessions that we have been watching over the past 2 years, pretty much, was by far was the big data clusters. So in this, when I carefully picked the title, and I meant to title this beyond big data clusters or something like after big data clusters or something like that. But I preferred to simply state these top features that every DBA should know, with the intention of directing that to DBAs and other enthusiasts, of course, that are not so familiar with big data clusters and are familiar with other features. So I kind of left big data clusters from this particular session in purpose, but I did add a couple of very nice links, references for you guys to take a look later. Okay, so just a quick, very quick intro. My name is Marcelo, and I work for a Canadian-based company, which is called Pythian. Data platform, Microsoft data platform lead consultant in one of their teams, and I also have I was awarded a couple of years ago with the MVP award. Like you've seen many of the speakers from this from this event. I also hold a couple of certifications: MCSA, MCT, MCSA, and Oracle OCP. And you're probably wondering why the hell a Microsoft DBA has or owns an Oracle certification. Yeah, I always say that it's for having the property and knowing well your competition, or knowing well how to say bad things about the other product, the red one. Yeah. So without further ado, let's get started. Oh, by the way, my blog is at dbbits.com.br. This BR is for Brazil. I work for Pythian, but I'm based in Brazil, and I'm a virtual group leader as well here in Brazil, and I'm also a group leader in São Paulo, where I live in. Okay, so we're pretty much going to talk about the new data platform, and I lied when I said that we're not going to talk about big data clusters, because we are just a teeny tiny bit going to talk about big data clusters, because it's huge. It's a huge game change. But there are other features that are also game changers as well, and I wanted to add them here in particular. This session is all about those other features, right? The table variable deferred compilation, memory optimized TempToBe metadata. We can see from all the features that most of our, when I say our, I mean DBAs. Most of the DBAs headaches are pretty much gone when you enable these features. Okay, and I'm gonna show you guys those ones. Okay, so that was when we had the community technology preview, which is an early beta version of SQL Server 2019. We had this. I'm going to call it marketing slide, because it is kind of marketing. It is intended to do. It is intended for marketing. Microsoft released this slide way before releasing the SQL Server 2019, and you can see that it's very comprehensive, and it shows pretty much all of the new features and all of the even existing but enhanced features that you had on SQL Server, on the whole data platform itself. Let me try and zoom it here. Okay, so instead of looking at this as a whole picture, I'm going to narrow it down a bit. Okay. You see intelligence over any data to the left portion of this screen here, and when you see, sorry, I keep on doing that all the time. It happens all the time. When you see intelligence over any data, what Microsoft means, or what this means is that you can run T-SQL, and you can run any Spark known language into your data in particular, and SQL Server is able to actually interpret it and give the desired result. So those are languages that are used mainly for machine learning and also for big data environments. When you see something like choice of platform and language, okay, choice of platform, I'm going to give a bit more credit to Microsoft here, because they released SQL Server 2017 in Linux and Docker. Yeah, in Linux and Docker. Yeah, exactly. But in SQL Server 2019, they also enhanced the capabilities of SQL Server on Linux, and they also the idea, I'm going to talk a bit more in detail later in this presentation about choice of platform, but they also added more languages, meaning that you can query your data with more language than T-SQL and more than .NET, which is the common language runtime. You can pretty much run anything to query your data in SQL Server. And I also mean Java. Yes, it's not inside the SQL Server engine itself before we start getting scared about it. It's not like something to be scared about. It's a Java runtime engine running in the server, but outside of SQL Server. It's totally different. I have to talk about Oracle as well, because it's pretty much my second technology, and it's not like Oracle where you have a Java runtime inside the engine itself. No, this engine runs outside of SQL Server, and it runs in a particularly protected portion of the memory, and then you have another server that's connecting SQL Server to this Java runtime machine, where you can have process independency and also process security with that as well. Industry leading performance. Okay, I'll give you to them. It's simply marketing, but it's super relevant, because through different benchmarks, and all the sources, all the references are there. Through different benchmarks, they're all there, and SQL Server is really faster. I'm going to show you a demo where just about table variables. It's very simple. It's something very simple. Just by changing the compatibility level to 150, you're going to see 150 is the 2019. You're going to see much better performance with that. Most secure data platform over the last 8 years. Yes, that is true. Microsoft invests heavily in security. That's also by another vendor organization. It's not evaluated by Microsoft, obviously, but SQL Server is. There are plenty of features. That makes it way more secure than all the other vendors, than all the other products in market. Insights in really literally minutes, and rich reports. This is meaning the front end of the application that we're using. Like we can use Power BI, we can use reporting services in Power BI server. We can use pretty much anything that we'd like. It's very easy to leverage intelligence over data, because you have pretty much a full stack of your whole solution can sit in one data platform. And you have this, you can simply, I sound like a salesman. It's very weird. I'm not working for Microsoft, okay? I'm not getting any penny out of it, okay? But you can literally have everything within one license, like one simple purchase of Enterprise Edition. I know it's expensive, but if you compare to others, and that's a comparison that you see right here, like 1/10 the cost of Oracle, and that is true, sadly. You can have pretty much everything, the whole data platform, and you see in memory across all platforms, even in private cloud and on public cloud, meaning that the consistency and the transference, or the transparency between Azure, which is Microsoft cloud, and any other cloud, any other private cloud product or on-prem product, like buy off the shelf product, something like that. SQL Server any edition that you buy and you actually install in a server itself, you have the whole consistency on it, meaning that Microsoft always releases its features before in the cloud, in their cloud, and then they release this feature, and then they add this feature to the on-prem product. So whichever feature you're using on your on-prem environment, you can have it on the cloud, like with pretty much zero headache for migrating and transferring data from one to the other. Okay. All right. So again, I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to talk about the big data cluster itself, but it is a big game changer. So I had to watch it and look for it and research on it and play with it and look and study again and again and again to pretty much understand it. But I came to the conclusion that it's very simple. The idea here is very simple. Think of I don't know, control an universal remote control. Think of it like that. It's a universal remote control. I have here in my house, I have a TV, I have a PlayStation 4, I have an Xbox One, I have the cable set box. I have what else? A home theater. So I have like 5 different devices, and I have to use 5 different remotes to operate them. It would be a much easier, but I don't want to spend money on it. But it would be much easier and much quicker if I had much uniform per se. If I had only one remote control to operate all of those devices at the same time, just pushing a different button, I would have access to my PS4. I would have access to my home theater. I would have access to my cable box set. Okay, that's pretty much what Microsoft is doing here. So let's dive into it. You have external data sources. Your solution is comprehensive, and it has lots of other data sources other than the plain vanilla SQL Server. We know that's the truth behind every big company enterprise setup. It's like that. It has always been like that. We have to deal with like 4 or 5 data storage technology or data storage technology. Yeah. So what Microsoft has done is implemented it decoupled. Microsoft decoupled the compute engine and the storage engine for SQL Server in particular, and for that they used Docker. But Docker is one Docker image would not be enough to handle lots of data, to handle petabytes of data. So what Microsoft did was, okay, let's create a cluster or more than one cluster, and let's create lots of Docker images to make sure we can run all this data workload. And there you have the compute pool, which are nothing less than Docker images running SQL Server. And within these compute nodes, within this SQL Server, you have a Spark engine and a SQL Server engine running on it, and you also have a storage pool running behind it, which are also Docker images. And all your SQL Server data is sitting there, and you can have other data from outside of your SQL Server, let's say big data cluster here. You can outside of your SQL Server environment, and this data is accessed directly via Polybase. Polybase is simply the solution that Microsoft developed in SQL Server 2016 to implement data virtualization, meaning I don't have to pull data from my source and having it copied into my destination. I can simply query my data in my source and simply having the result here in the destination if needed be. Okay, so that's pretty much a game changer for the ETL development as well. So you don't have to move your data around. You can simply connect to your data source, and you can simply you can simply pull that data if needed, or you can simply consume that data where it is, sitting where it is. Okay, and you have a master instance with something called SQL Server master instance, which is the SQL Server that's running, that's controlling everything and controlling how many compute nodes are running, or how many pools are running, or how many, I'm going to say the term here, how many Kubernetes are running here, how many Docker pods are running here within this cluster. Okay, you have data coming from IoT devices, and Kubernetes is nothing less than the Docker orchestrator that's running here. Okay, let's say I need more compute power here, for example. Then the master instance is going to give Kubernetes a command to simply increase the number of Docker running the compute nodes. And you're consuming all of this data from your Power BI, from your reporting services, or anything that you created to be used as a front end. Okay, that's pretty much a very, very, very summarized view of the big data clusters on SQL Server 2019. There are other resources for learning that, for diving into it, and those resources are great. The first one is in Portuguese. It's from our friend Luis Garretti, and the other ones are in English. Okay, if you need any more reference, please feel free to access them and use them. Okay, so let's dive into the actual DBA work. Oh, and one question that I received from this setup, lots of times. Marcelo, I'm an old school DBA. How do I have to learn all this? You don't have to actually learn Spark. You don't have to actually learn this like deeply. You don't have to be a specialist, a Kubernetes specialist, to run this. You don't need to be a Kubernetes specialist or Docker specialist to actually dive deep into it. You need to know the basic functionality, and you need to know where the pieces get mounted together. Okay, that's pretty much what you need to do. This is a big puzzle, and you need to know where the pieces come together, right? And career-wise, that's very important. Yes, that is very important. Carlos?
Hey Marcelo, I don't know if you don't mind. We have a question. It's on Spanish, so I can translate that to you. Well, Portuguese and Spanish are similar, right? So probably you
¿Cómo puedo conseguir las presentaciones?
Yes.
De las presentaciones de los
Your
slides.
Spanish is really good. Yep.
Nah, but I can't answer to that. I'm going to add it to the Slack, or I can send it over to you.
Okay, yeah, you can. I don't know, whatever works better for you, man. You can just.
Adib, are you in? I'm not sure if he understands English, but if he's in Slack, he can ping me, and then I can send it to him directly. Anyway, that's very easy.
Yeah, or you can just give me a URL, and I can put it here, and everybody can grab it from there. Or you can put it at the end. It works anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Marcelo.
No worries. Also with the scripts as well. All right. Let's dive into the DBA stuff. Okay. I hope we have lots of DBAs seeing this, or developers. That works for developers too. All right. Table variable deferred compilation. Table variable is something that was introduced in SQL Server 2005. That's kind of very old. And what's the problem? Well, I'm not going to say problem, but what's the potential problem with a table variable? I'm not talking about a temporary table. Temporary table, the one with a hashtag in front of it. I'm talking about the and then the table variable. The main problem with it is that you have SQL Server only estimates that it's only going to read that the query processor is only going to read one row for a table variable. So picture the following scenario. You have a start procedure. That's super easy. You have a start procedure that's super common. Sorry, you have a start procedure, and in this procedure you have a table variable, and this table variable is filled or is created as part of a result of a query, and this query invokes like billions of rows. Okay, millions of rows. I'm not going to say billions, but millions of rows. Right. Even on the hundreds of thousands is bad enough. So SQL Server is still going to, when SQL Server is executing the store procedure, it's still going to estimate that it's going to read only one row. That's SQL Server up until 2017. Okay. SQL Server is going to estimate for a table variable that it's going to read only one row. However, in fact, what happens is SQL Server is going to read how many hundreds of thousands or millions of rows instead of just one. So try to imagine how bad this plan would be, because it's probably going to generate a nested loop in this case, or some sort of key lookup, crazy. So it's going to be very, very bad for execution speed and performance. So the first thing that we used to do when we were talking about even up until SQL Server 2017 is, okay, change this table variable into a temporary table. So SQL Server can better estimate. You can still suffer from split, from page spill, things like that, but it's better. It's going to estimate better because there are real statistics in temporary tables. Okay, that's better. But there's one neat feature that was created within the intelligence query processing feature. It's a sub feature. Intelligent query processing feature is like a family of features. So when you enable it, and you don't have to really enable it, you simply need to put your database into the correct compatibility level, 150. Okay, if you put your database in the 150 compatibility level, you're going to have an estimation, a more accurate estimation of table rows and to be read, and then you're going to have a much better, and when I say better, I say quicker plan. Okay, let's see that in action. I have a management studio here. Let me just introduce you guys real quick to my super complicated environment. It's a SQL Server 2019, plain and simple. Okay, all right. So let's connect to that. I'm going to connect using SQL Server authentication, but anyway, either way works. And I'm going to pull my script here. Give me one moment. There I have it. Okay, I'm going to use that's database, wide word importers, DW. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a procedure, create a router, whatever. I'm going to create a procedure that simply declares table variable, plain and simple. It's going to create a table variable. It's going to insert something there, okay? And it's going to do a select. Okay, plain and simple. Select with a join, with a simple join, with an existing table there. Order history extended. All right? Pretty straightforward. Okay, then you have the end of the proc. Okay, so let's go ahead and execute this. Let's go to the right, Let's go to the right the database. All right. Now, I'm going to clear my cache, and I'm gonna go back to, I don't know, SQL Server 2016. Okay, compatibility level to SQL Server 2016, and let's take a quick glance at the number of rows that we have for this table. Okay? It's the real table. It's the one. The real is awesome. It's the actual table that that I'm querying with the table that's going to be created within the procedure. Okay, I'm going to execute this procedure. That's not minutes, that's seconds. I'm going to execute this procedure, and within this procedure, I'm going to pull its actual execution plan. All right, pretty straightforward. I'm not going to execute 3 times because it's going to take too long. Okay, so let it execute. It's going to take a while there. Okay. Right. So, okay, 20 seconds. Yeah, that's pretty much what it's going to take. I want to talk while this is executed. I want to talk about another feature, another very, very nice feature that I pretty much always enable when I have SQL Server 2019. Memory optimized TempDB metadata. That's fantastic. That's freaking fantastic. How do I mean it? And why is it fantastic? I mean, sorry, I don't know why it came with this screenshot. Anyway, well, this is obviously an enterprise only feature. And remember the very, very classic case where we had TempDB contention, latch page contention, page latch contention. Remember that? If you ran SP who's active, you would see database ID 2, and then page 1, page 2. You would see that, and then you would see wait on page latch or page latch contention. You would see that page latch X, something like that. This happens when you're creating lots of objects in TempDB at the same time. Then you have a contention. In order to diminish this, or in order to make it less an impact, we used to create a couple of create the number of TempDB files within the same size, within the same allocation unit. We would even enable trace flags 1117 and 1118, so that the proportional fill algorithm would grow all the proportional fill algorithm would use all the pages, all the data files equally, and we would create about four data files depending on how many CPUs you had. If you had 8 CPUs, you would create 8 CPUs. I'm not super in favor of doing all of this every single time. I have my reasons for that. Okay, but we can even discuss that later. But the classic problem was that you had some sort of TempDB contention in the control pages, and you had to spread the workload across more than one data files, and you had to take lots of cares. You had to babysit those data files in order for them to grow evenly. Anyway, you remember that every DBA, every SQL Server DBA that has more than 2 years of experience have seen this, something like that, a case like that. Okay, how about, well, TempDB is ephemeral. Whenever we restart SQL Server, TempDB is recreated, rebuilt from scratch. Okay, all the objects in TempDB are, well, TempDB is important, but all the objects are, in essence, temporary. That's why it's called TempDB. Okay, bad joke. Anyway, so why don't we use in memory? Remember Hackathon? Remember SQL Server 2014 Enterprise Edition? Hackathon in memory. Why don't we use that to create the metadata control, the catalog control for TempToBe. Seems like a very nice idea. Okay, that's for now enterprise only, and you have to set one option in particular for your SQL Server instance. And it's not dynamic. You have to restart your instance, reboot your instance in order for that to be effective. Okay, just be careful with one small thing. It's very simple, but it can affect your code. It won't work. You won't be able to create column store indexes in temporary tables. If you use column store indexes in temporary tables in any codes that you have in your application, it's not going to work. Okay, just be careful with that. I've seen very little people, very little. It's very frustrating, by the way. You see you don't see many people using column store indexes as needed, let alone in temporary tables. But point taken, it is there. The notice is there. Okay, let's go back to our previous feature. Now you can see that I ran fact order prices with the previous compat level. So we don't have table variable deferred compilation. We had this running in 55 seconds. Okay, a while. Execution plan. Let's go here. You see, and it even states that it's like 100% of the query. It makes no sense inserting the data itself in the ordered table variable. Anyway, so here's what we need to focus on. This operation here. This is where I have a table scan from my table variable, and this is where I have an index seek. Excuse me. This is where I have an index seek to gather data from the table that I'm joining from. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's take a closer look at the statistics, at the running statistics here. So estimated number of rows to be read, 1. So congratulations, SQL Server, estimating 1 row to be read, and we actually read 3 million. 3 million? Yes, 3 million. We actually read 3 million, almost 4 freaking million rows. Okay. Okay, that sucks. That sucks big time, and it took like 55 minutes. So let's simply clear the procedure cache, and let's jump up to compat level 150, which is the native compatibility level for this instance. Okay. All right. Let's execute it. Okay, to be fair, the first execution is going to have the compile time, etc., etc., etc. It's going to, it takes a little more, but we have a difference here. Remember 55, now 12. It means that plain simple. Okay, I have a SQL Server database that's running in 2017. I migrated and upgraded to a SQL Server 2019. I changed the compat level from the SQL Server 2017 previous database to 19. It's simply running faster. I know I sound like now an Apple salesman, but it simply sounds faster. It simply runs faster, right? 12. Why? There's even now it's more accurate. You see table inserts on the table variable here. It's 11%, and then you have 89% of the whole statement cost in here, which is good. I'm not going to take a closer look at the index, but take a look. We have a hash match, hash match, and we have a table scan in our order table variable. However, now we have more up-to-date statistics. Take a look. not statistics, but at least execution estimates. I'm estimating now, SQL Server is estimating 3 million. And I have actual number 3.7 million. Okay, that's better. That's why it's not exactly the same, but it's close. It's very, very close. So that's way better. That's why SQL Server is able to execute this query much quicker. Okay, there are lots of other sub features within the intelligent query processor family feature, where you simply put it to you simply adjust the compat level to 150, and it just goes faster. That's it. Okay, now remember the second feature that I talked about, which was the TempToBe with memory optimized metadata. Yeah, right. Now I'm going to open Azure Data Studio here. Let me pull that file here. I have a notebook already ready. If you're not using Azure Data Studio, use it. Download it and use it. It's not as comprehensive as a Management Studio yet, but it is pretty darn good. Right. Let's see here. So I'm going to set this feature off. I'm going to set the configuration memory optimized TempDB metadata off in the server that I'm running right now. Okay. Connection. There you have it. Okay, it's executing. Don't remember why. Nothing. All right. Yeah, don't save. It happens all the time. Oh, attached to. Change connection. Local. Let's close this pane right here. Yep.
Hey Marcelo, would you mind to zoom in a little bit? Because right now,
What? Sorry?
you were zoom in a little bit? Yeah, if you can. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, sure. Zoom in like right now, this?
Let me take a look really quick here. Yeah, I think it's the font size. I'm checking
For this in particular.
Right.
You're talking about the font in here. Okay, I'm going to switch to the other one. I'm going to switch to the
There you go. Yeah,
fine.
it's much better now. Yeah, it's much better.
It's
It was
better.
for a moment.
I
Yeah,
didn't do anything.
not right now. Not right now. It was like a moment ago.
Like with this. Take a look
Yeah.
now. Okay,
Yeah.
because I'm zooming in. Okay, here I'm simply so let me adjust it. Okay, so
Thank you.
here I'm going to adjust the memory optimized configuration for this instance in particular. Okay, completed. And you're going to see that it's not yet properly set. I need to restart this instance for that to be set. It runs a trace flag in the background when you enable this feature. Anyway, let me restart my instance here real quick. Okay, starting service. Right. Let me rerun this. So there's no TempToBe metadata memory optimized feature enabled here. Okay, perfect. I'm going to simply right now. I'm going to simply drop and create a database that's gonna have a procedure, a very simple procedure that simply creates. The procedure only creates a table, a temporary table, and that's it. The procedure is called, and I called it with much care, proc hurt TempToBe. You're going to understand why. Okay. Now I'm gonna go to another utility called called ostress. I'm going to stress my my connection here, my SQL Server instance. Right. I'm going to zoom in. Don't worry. Let me just type in ostress minus q exec proc hurt TempToBe. I want pretty much 50 connections at the same time, and I also want that each connection runs the procedure itself 10,000 times, pretty much. Okay. Inside database temp stress db in server point. Right. Okay. Something's not right. Give me one moment. Let me see. Okay. Okay. Temp stress db. Let me see if it created properly. Temp stress db. Proc hurt TempToBe minus n. I know what's wrong here. Give me a moment. Stress security first. Administrator is not part of the SQL Server. Okay. No. Okay. Sorry. Lack of space. Okay. So this is already executing in my instance, my local instance. I'm going to minimize this so I can take a look at what's going on. Right. So in TempToBe, let's see what's being created and what's not being created. So I have lots of connections to sys ch something objects, which is pretty much a metadata table, catalog table. And if we go to SP who's active, we're going to see this. I think you can see now. We're gonna have the query that I'm running, exec proc hurt whatever, and then we're gonna have a bunch of wait info, page latch exclusive on TempToBe. So all of the sessions are pretty much waiting for this for the remaining sessions to complete, right? You have the contention. There you have a contention of TempToBe with a simple procedure that simply creates objects, and those are temporary objects. I mean, it's pointless to keep having these kind of latches and problems. Now, let me cancel that execution. Okay. I'm going to adjust my my configuration to enable the memory optimized TempToBe metadata. Okay. Remember, I need to restart my my SQL Server for that to be effective. Okay. Okay, I have an instance restarted now, and well, let's see if I have a select here. Okay, value is in use. Okay, perfect. If I execute read error log and check for TempToBe messages, I'm going to see. Let me zoom in here real quick. TempToBe started with memory optimized metadata. So let's dive in and let's run the very same stress query that I was running. The very same. Okay. Okay. Executing. Go. I have nothing in sys exec requests with TempToBe regarding TempToBe right now. That which is pretty much what we wanted, right? Let's see if I can catch that. Nothing. Really nothing. Amazing. Yeah. Again, nothing.
Yes, I think you're mute, Carlos.
You're in mute, Carlos. Yeah, you were.
Oh my God.
Go back to.
Sorry about that. No, I was meaning to ask.
Oops.
Yeah, can you hear me okay now? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah, so you were expecting to see something, but it is
No, yeah.
because it's
No,
so
I-
fast. Go ahead.
Sorry?
No, so the question was, you were expecting to see something, but you didn't see anything, right? And it was because it was so fast, or
Yeah, because I was too slow to push the button, the right button. So I came back to Management Studio, and now it's better. Now it's actually showing me. You don't see any sort of contention here, and you also, but you can see like 2 sessions running the procedure that I just created. But you see them as actually being executed. You don't see any sorts of blocking and nor waits.
Mhm.
And in this query, right below here, in this query, I'm checking all of the objects that are memory optimized, that are actually using Hackathon, pretty much.
Right. That's why the XTP.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why it's much quicker. Pretty
Yeah.
much. That's something that I'm enabling. That's something that I'm enabling by default whenever I get 2019 Enterprise Edition. By default, I just enable it.
Yep.
And that's it. Oh, and by the way, it completed. Remember the old stress in the previous execution, it didn't complete. I just completed it. It completed in this portion, at least for this execution. All right. Next feature.
All right. Let's jump to different layout. I'll leave you there.
Sure,
Okay.
sure. No problem. No problem. Okay. And this is something that Brent Ozer told nice things about, spoke nice things about, using the memory optimized TempToBe metadata. That's very interesting. So we have also TDE, pause and resume. Now, if you try to enable transparent data encryption in a very busy database, you can have problems with your workload while the scan is executing, while the scan that SQL Server runs in order to to make sure that data is being properly encrypted. Now, you have the ability with 2019. You have the ability to pause and resume that operation later. That's pretty darn good. I'm not going to show that here because I don't have that amount of data, but that's pretty handy if you have a very busy SQL Server environment. And also on this note, TDE for SQL Server 2019, TDE is standard, and that was a game changer for a customer of ours. We upgraded from 2014 to 2019 because they needed to be GDPR compliant, and in order to be GDPR compliant, you need to enable TDE at least. And they didn't have TDE in 2014, and they only had standard edition. So we went ahead to 2019. Things are working great. Nothing has broken up until, well, today. No one has called me yet, so it's good. All right, jumping into the good stuff. Not that the other stuff was not so good, but this is pretty important, pretty nice. Excuse me. Mission critical availability, resumable index operations. You were able in 2017. You were able to pause and later on resume an alter index. Alter index rebuild. Picture the following scenario: you're rebuilding an index. It's part of your regular maintenance. It should be at least, and you're executing. It's executing, and it's jumping into your OLTP regular hours. People are starting to complain. You can simply go there and pause the alter 2017. You can also pause the create index statement 2019 only. With 2019, you can simply pause the create as well, the create index as well. Also, Ola Hallegren's script, they're already alter enabled. You can use that. You can use that for the script as well. Availability group enhancements. It wouldn't be me if we weren't talking about availability groups. Well, there were significant improvements made to availability groups in 2017 with the clusterless AG, and with SQL Server 2017 going to Linux as well. So that was a very good improvement. You can have multiple SQL Server kind in different OS layers with SQL Server 2017 or 2019, and you can replicate data from one to the other. You're not going to have, without a cluster, you're not going to have a failure detection. Okay, without an actual cluster environment, you're not going to have failure detection. So there's no way for you to detect failure automatically, unless you can script it out. But not by normal means. You can't. But you can create an availability group without the actual Windows cluster, which was amazing. That was actually fantastic. And with SQL Server 2019, you can create now 9 replicas. You can have 9 replicas within an availability group, Enterprise Edition, obviously, and you can have 5 synchronous replicas, which is pretty darn amazing for very critical workloads and environments. And you have the very nice, the greatest feature for mission critical availability of all, which is accelerated database recovery. Now, raise your hand if you as a DBA never run into the case of the recovery that the eternal recovery problem. It can happen to anyone. I agree, it can happen to anyone. The customer has a very, very large transaction running, one only, begin your transaction. Transaction is huge. It starts growing. Log file starts growing. You see that the customer user starts to complain. Oh, performance here is horrible. What the hell is going on? What the hell is happening? Oh, there's a transaction here. Someone is running a transaction here. Huge insert or a huge update, and it's not going anywhere. Okay, you can kill that transaction. Kill transaction, kill session, whatever. It's not releasing. It's not making things better. Performance is not improving. Then you can see that the status for that session is killed/rollback. It's a rollback. It's horrible as well. It takes lots of time. Okay. Then someone has the brilliant idea, or someone already goes without even saying, they restart the instance. Congratulations. Now the instance is online. The instance is back online, but the database is not online because it has to do redo or undo. It has to undo a huge transaction that was running prior to shutting that instance off. So there's nothing left for you to do other than to wait. Just sit and wait. There's nothing else to be done. And in older versions, older than 2016 or 14, I don't remember exactly the version number, but the undo operation, on the recovery part, on the recovery phase, used to be single-threaded. So it would take even longer. If you took like for the whole transaction like 1 hour, it would take like two hours, 1 hour and a half to do the rollback. It was crazy slow. So this is the very classic recovery phase, and this is what's been around with SQL Server and pretty much any other relational database engine for like 25 years. That's pretty much what has served. And it still serves. Still serves fine if your developers are able to create small transactions, small portions of transactions. That's fine. When you start SQL Server or when you restart SQL Server, all databases need to go through this process, through these subparts, and this process in particular. The very first phase is called analysis, where SQL Server is going to read everything in the LDF. What is my oldest checkpoint, and meaning where's my checkpoint and what is the oldest uncommitted transaction? Oh, it's right here. It's right behind here. Okay. So let's go to the next phase. Now that I have read, SQL Server has the picture of what it needs to be done to be redone and undone. Now let's do it. For every transaction that's inside the log file, and you had a commit, you had the word commit afterwards, a committed transaction, let's redo them. Okay, all right. And for every transaction, for every begin tran that you have where you don't have a commit, or every transaction that you have a rollback, you need to undo them. You need to remove them from disk. This takes a while. Okay, it's simply how it is. There's no way around it. Okay, now enter SQL Server 2019, and with Enterprise Edition, yes, that's Enterprise Edition. With Enterprise Edition, and you have to enable the feature. You have accelerated database recovery. Now, accelerated database recovery is pretty much versioning, new versioning on steroids. I call it versioning on steroids. You're going to have a new log file. It's going to be inside the very LDF that you already know. It's not going to be another file itself, but inside that file you have a secondary log, and this secondary log is something that SQL Server uses to record versions or portions of your data as they are changed. SQL Server records that data and versioning as they are changed at the moment that they are changed. So rollback time, redo and undo is super quick because you already have the data itself there. Now, previous to that version, versioning was in for read committed snapshot or something like that. You would have versioning sitting in TempToBe. With ADR, you have something similar to read committed, but you have the versioning inside the database itself, which is, if you ask me, more intelligent. You already have lots of things to put in TempToBe. You also put versioning in it, in that as well. It's better to simply have that versioning information inside the database itself. Okay, so SQL Server has, in the event of a crash or a failure or a restart, SQL Server has to do an analysis of that log file. Pretty much the same as the other one, and then it has to do the redo. The redo phase is much quicker because since it's versioning, it can simply re-enable very quickly. It can simply switch the data pointer to simply, oh, this data or this data. It's there. It's already there. And the undo is as quickly as the redo right now, because you can simply point to the new data. You don't have to redo or undo. You don't need to actually replay the whole thing in disk. Okay, so that's much quicker. But there's a catch. I also like to enable this when I have a SQL Server 2019 Enterprise. I also like to enable this, but if I know that transactions that disk space is not a problem, at least on my log drive, because your log file is going to grow a bit bigger here, and you're going to have a processor overhead here as well. Why? Because you're versioning everything now. You're versioning your data. It's like having read committed snapshots enabled for this in particular. Okay? So you have a much quicker recovery phase, recovery operation. But there's a price to pay. If you have that computing power, then I would say go for it. If you don't have that computing power, if your CPU is already high, resolve that first. If you don't have disk, don't enable that right now. But if you have the computing power for that, I would enable it. I would carefully evaluate and enable it, because in the event of a disaster, the recovery is very quick. I'm going to show you that right now. So let me pull my demo script here. Okay, that's going to be very straightforward. I have two databases. Carlos, how much time do I have? How many minutes do I have? Or I already.
No worries. Yeah, no, we're okay. Don't worry about it. Our session starting. Go ahead.
I'm going to try and be as quickly as possible.
No worries. You take your time, and we'll still have time. There is another session that started in parallel at 3 p.m., but it's okay. That's why we're here. And take your time. Okay. We want to take most of most knowledge of all the speakers as we can. So by all means, please.
Sure.
All right.
So Thank you. All right. Okay. So now what we have here is this is let me pull my data here real quick. Is okay. So I do have one database here, two databases that I want to focus here. One of them is called Old Reco, and the new one is called New Reco. The New Reco has accelerated database recovery enabled. Okay, let's dive in here. Okay, so in this session, I'm going to do a huge select. Okay, I'm going to simply start filling the log. That's pretty much what I'm going to do. Selecting two. Okay. And this session is going to use Old Reco. Removing this. This session is going to use New Reco. Okay. So let's start by Old Reco. Insert into New Reco. Insert into. Okay. And here I'm going to run a wait for delay, and I'm going to shut SQL Server down. Okay. After 1 minute, SQL Server is going down, and I'm inserting data, generating log pretty much. That's it. That's what I'm doing here. Let's see if I can find the sizes for these two databases. These two files, sorry. Yeah, let me show you what I meant here. Okay. 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 So SQL Server was shut down. Well, now let's go back to our configuration manager and let's start the instance. Okay, pretty straightforward. Okay, very nice, very nice, very nice. That's a lot of data, right? Let's try and filter it out. Okay. Recovery. Okay, that's better. Let's zoom in. Okay. Okay, so we already have recovery completed for New Reco, right? It took me in total 5 seconds. The recovery operation. Okay. 5 seconds for New Reco. Okay. So I have 5 seconds for New Reco. Where here? I have 5 seconds for new record, and I have 62 seconds for old record. That's big. That's a big difference, right? Yeah. Enable advanced accelerated database recovery. Enable it. Enable it. Okay. Nice. Okay. I did have other demos here, but I'm not going to go into them because we don't have enough time anymore. But here you have something called platform of choice for SQL Server, meaning you can run it, and you can run it even SQL Server 2017. You can run it in Linux. Three distributions are currently supported by Microsoft: Red Hat, Ubuntu, and SUSE. I like Red Hat, actually CentOS, but it depends. It depends on. They're not going to tell you. Microsoft's not going to tell you which version, which distro is better or worse. They're all pretty much the same to them. And you can also run SQL Server in Docker as well, in Docker and Kubernetes. Now, SQL Server in Linux, the idea is for it to become a full-fledged product like it is in Windows. The experience for installing in Linux is super easy, super quick, super fast to execute and have an instance running up and running. Very, very straightforward. But there are a few limitations yet in the 2019 versions. Lots of improvements were made from 2017 to 2019. All of the replication types are enabled. You're able to execute all kinds of. You're able to add all kinds of replication. You're able to run distributed transactions. So MSDTC is also supported. Polybase is supported, and also high availability features are supported, but they were already supported in 2017. Now, speaking of Polybase, we used to have Polybase in 2016, and it was a feature back in 2016 because you could only let's talk about what is Polybase, right? Polybase is the data virtualization tool for SQL Server. What the hell, Marcelo? What the hell does that mean? Remember when I was talking about big data clusters and you want to access your data and you don't want to pull that data into your SQL Server, you just want to access your data like it's an external data source. Kind of like a linked server, kind of. Yeah. But with a more specialized driver. Yeah. In 2016, you could only query Hadoop and Azure Blob Storage. That's pretty much what you could do with Polybase in 2016. Now, enter 2019, and let's take data virtualization seriously, and let's add all the drivers into the engine. So we can now query pretty much almost everything. We can query Teradata, Oracle, SQL Server, obviously, Hortonworks, Cosmos DB, MongoDB, DB2, everything. We can pretty much connect to everything. So from our SQL Server can act as a gateway to data within our organization. Pretty much, we can leverage the data visualization or the data engine solution inside SQL Server, and we can use that to connect to all of these different data sources, and then bring or at least show that data to us. Okay. And here are a few references that I had created for these that I had used for this presentation. Eduardo is asking something here. I'll reply back to him in a minute. And here are my contacts. Feel free to engage anytime you want, anytime you like. We can discuss the bad choices that Sony made to create the PlayStation 5. I'm still wrapping my head around it, but we can talk about SQL Server a lot as well. question, Eduardo's question is, of the new features, is any of them enterprise only? Yeah, at least the TempToBe metadata is enterprise only, and ADR, accelerated database recovery, is enterprise only. But hey, TDE is now standard, so that's good, right? Thanks,
Good.
Eduardo. Appreciate it. And we have Carlos here as well, right? The other Carlos.
Yeah, how are you? I
Hey,
just I didn't want
congratulations,
to.
our MVP. Congratulations, dude.
Thank you,
I had to, sorry.
thank you. Yeah, I didn't want to slow your pace there. So you were very excited. So okay. So
No worries.
I don't know how is the questions are right now, Carlos Robles, but I just wanted to ask you. Well, not more as a based on what you have developed today for the public, and when you said that the column store wasn't, you weren't surprised that people didn't use column store that much. So I just wanted to like ask you, what is the best practices that you recommend to implement column store for the people?
Best practices. Use it.
Yeah. How do you use it?
Pretty much. It's going to be it's pretty much a choice that you have to make. If the data that you're going to select in that table in particular is going to be more queried in an aggregate manner, other than in row manner, something like that. It's very good. It's very good and very quick for aggregating for some average. The aggregate T-SQL portion.
Right. I just wanted like to put in the context that it's a good feature that must be implemented.
It's a fantastic feature. I seen. Okay, I lied a bit. I don't see that much in OLTP workloads, and because many of my workloads, or the workloads that I administer, are legacy. They're like, they were born in SQL Server 2008 and 2020. They weren't born in SQL Server 2014, for example, or 2016. They were born in an earlier version, and then the vendors keep on bringing the SQL Server instance back, the database, to higher versions, but they don't leverage the new features. I've seen a lot of column store indexes usage on data warehouses, and that's where they shine. That's where they are actually well used. Newer data warehouses, at least.
Yeah, exactly. That was like to emphasize that part and try to people use it more. And the other was really it was good to see that you use the ADR feature. So it was really great. Yeah, I just wanted to.
I like it very much.
It's very fast.
Yeah, I have a question for Marcelo here.
Go for it.
Yeah, so you said that SQL Server runs pretty much on multiple environments now, and people, I talk a lot about Kubernetes and Docker,
I know.
These questions, people ask me these questions. Why SQL Server on Linux? Why SQL Server in Docker? Why SQL Server in Kubernetes? Or why big clusters? Do you have any opinion on that?
It's pretty straightforward. You want the geeky version of the answer, or you want the marketing version of the answer? Okay, let's go for the marketing version first. Microsoft wants to give the client the ability to choose. That's it. The idea, and you were there, and Carlos Lopez is going to be there as well. And they're going to say that again and again and again. The product team, they're not going to tell you to pick your SQL Server from Windows and put it in Linux, and that's it. That's not the idea. Is not to move. The idea is to move if you need to, or the idea is to leverage even new customers. Oh, I like SQL Server very much. but I can't run it because I only have Linux expertise in my shop. And I've seen that a lot. And I also seen New York, Carlos, I guess. I think New York, we had...
That was last time we were hanging around. Yep.
We had an attendee there that he told me, I have a lawyer's office. I think it was a lawyer's firm, something like that. It was huge.
Yep.
And they had tons of Windows Server, SQL servers and Windows Server. And Microsoft was charging them a lot for the Windows license, for renewing the Windows licensing for the next year. And they said, okay, we're jumping to Linux. Let me test a few bits of parts here and there, and that's it. Let's go to Linux. They couldn't go because it was SQL Server 2017 at the time, and they were using lots of replication. At that time, it wasn't very good. But now with SQL Server 2019, they can use that. Oh, and don't miss, if you're watching this right now live, don't miss Edwin's session later today, right? It's later tonight, right?
Yeah.
About SQL Server on Linux. It's going to be pretty amazing. Edwin is very nice.
Yeah, Edwin.
And answer your question. The geeky version of the answer is because it's cool. Because we like to play around with SQL Server in every kind of platform. That's it.
Yeah, it's portable and it's fast, and so why not, right? It's a possibility now, so why not exploit it? I have another question here. There was so many great things you gave us, like a brief introduction. You did some deep dives, and I will ask from all those top features that you presented today, which one do you think are the ones that we should learn more about it, or I mean, like a focus that's something that will help us to make our lives easier as DBAs?
As DBA, okay. Good that you narrowed that down.
Right.
Accelerated database recovery, resumable index, but it's very easy. Resumable index creation and altering. Altering is from 17, but you can focus on that as well. What else? TempToBe, enabling TempToBe metadata. I would focus on those three at least.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it helps a lot to drop some of the boring stuff from our workload.
I would say the top one for me, in my humble opinion, is ADR, accelerated database recovery, because I've suffered a lot with people restarting instances and saying that it's not getting back. I can't access my data, and I'm sure that you too also suffered from that as well, for sure.
Yeah.
Someone, an intern, or I'm joking, a developer, also joking, or a sysadmin goes there and restarts the instance, the server.
Yeah. I remember some of the huge databases that has many virtual log files takes longer periods of time to recover. Like, and Carlos was working with me at that time. Do you remember that database for SharePoint? Those SharePoint databases are huge. So it had like I don't know 2,000 virtual log files, and it was taking forever to recover. So great thing. And by the way, we have your contact information on the screen. So if you guys want to connect with Marcelo, I think that you can scan the QR code. Is there, your website is there.
It's there. Everything is there pretty much.
Yeah, so please show some love for Marcelo. He did a great job. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Really hope that we can do that again, but in person, in a local event. If this was a local event, I would be there. We would be there for sure.
Yeah, that was a plan. Yeah, I remember that we talked about it, but
I know. That's
things happens. But so next year.
That's fine. Yeah, we're here. Right. Better. That's what matters. Thank you very much, guys.
Check.
No, thank
Let's
you.
check. Yeah, I don't think there is more questions.
All right.
So I think we can wrap up.
Thank you
Alright.
very much, guys. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Marcelo.
Have a great
Thank you
rest
for your
of,
time. Thank you very much.
rest of event, and good job here also. And I'll be hanging around on Slack. So if you guys need anything, just ping me
Sure.
there.
If people
Okay.
shoot questions, we'll definitely
Okay.
be there. Mhm.
I'll be there. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Appreciate
All
it.
right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Cheers.
Thank you.